Hello. Alright, I need to make a quick clarification. I just got a text from Andrea that said, Sage, what was happening in your video when Otto was napping and you were talking about the dough, speaking the dough's native language. So I said that the dough was in Otto leaves, which is not O-T-T-O leaves, but A-U-T-O leaves, L-Y-S-E. And this is when before you add in the starter, you just mix together the flour and the water, and you leave it for like 30 minutes to an hour for the water to actually like soak in, or for the flour to actually soak into the water, and or the water to soak into the flour, and that's when it starts forming its gluten. So like the longer you leave it in Otto leaves, the stronger like the gluten bonds will be, or the strands of gluten. So anyway, that's that. I have my Dutch oven just finished preheating, and last night I went to kind of prepare the dough after I had finished editing and everything. And this is by far the best sourdough dough that I've experienced. It was so light and airy and like silky almost. It was kind of mind-blowing. So I'm going to prep the first loaf to go in, and we're gonna cook some sourdough, baby. Hell yeah. What's wrong? Hello. I'm feeling not horrible today. So I think I'm gonna cut open this bread. There's like, okay, here's how I'm feeling about it. It may not look like the biggest loaf, but I will be working on perfecting that. But it's like the oven spring of this bread. You see that? How you push it in, springs right back. This is the fluffiest, like lightest loaf I've ever made, and it's also the biggest, which tells me that I actually let it like aerate for long enough. So I'm really excited to see what the inside looks like. Are you excited to see it? Okay, so this looks pretty fucking good, I think. I've had a lot of issues with like the crumb being like a ton of really big bubbles and big pockets up top, and then it being really dense at the bottom. So this is like so much more even. This was so much easier to cut into than any other loaf I've cut into, which the whole time I've thought my bread knife was just super dull, but I think that my bread was just not right. Okay, also I can't say too much, but good writing news is on the horizon. Yeah! I'm so excited to revise my novella right now. I am feeling so fucking fucked up good about it. That's probably contributing to this like momentary high.
Started in October, I believe, where I annotate books from start to finish and take you through the journey. So if you haven't seen that series, I would love that you checked it out. But this tweets down below. There's only 2 videos out so far. In this series, what I
I'm just updating my vlog. See that grilled cheese I made? The second loaf came out pretty good as well. I just sent it home with Cody's sister. And now I'm gonna clean the kitchen, so get ready for another cleaning montage. Hello, what time is it? It's 9 o'clock. You know when, okay, my printer's turning on because I just turned on the power strip, but you know when you get consumed by a book and then you're like, I don't know if / how I will ever recover from this. That is how I'm feeling about Sky Papers. This is such an underrated book in general. I think definitely an underrated 2021 release. This like fucked me up. Okay, so the comparison that I wrote in my review of this was think Kazuo Ishiguro, but black and queer and punk and radical and set in the 90s. But it's also so much more than that. I kind of reference Kazuo Ishiguro because of his themes of memory and surveillance, but also having those really surprising endings that are constantly being alluded to, but it's kind of a suspenseful thriller, but in a really soft psychological way. God, I'm like shaking from this book. I literally sat in the bath until I was a prune and until the water was cold, and then I got out of the bath and sat on my bedroom couch in my towel for 2 hours maybe until I finished this. I was literally on page 80 when I started reading and I just finished it. I don't know how to talk about it, but I don't think, I want to cry. I don't think that I will ever forget this book. God, it's so frustrating too, because you're reading it and one of the characters is more aware of what's going on than the main character, and there are just all of these pieces that are given to you so thoughtfully that it's one of those books where you know just slightly more than the main character, and at the same time you don't know what the fuck is happening. I think my only thing about this that I was I could have done without is that I kind of wish that the ending wasn't wrapped up as tightly, I guess, because we kind of figured out what was happening, and then it was a slow reveal of everything that was happening and then what was really happening. But then it had these wrap up chapters, and I think that it could have done without the wrap up chapters. I love open endings, and I think it would have been really impactful and really infuriated a lot of readers. And I mean, I think maybe that's more like a stylistic choice. It is very possible that this author does not like open endings, and I think a lot of people will appreciate the clarity at the end, but for me, I kind of didn't want that, and would have liked to like have this kind of I don't know, this kind of like uncertainty about it that maybe even would make me like question my own life. I think that ultimately, even though this book is set in the 90s, pre, you know, social media, I think that this is ultimately a statement on social media and like broadcasting our lives, which is interesting, you know, as I'm making a literal YouTube video talking about this book. And what that means for the person who is often like not fully consenting to the amount of visibility that what they put on the internet has, but at the same time like is the one technically putting that visibility or putting that content out there to gain visibility. But like, can you consent to that if you don't have any control of like the actual outcome? To me, that was a big theme in this, and goddamn, I'm gonna think about this book for the rest of my life. Because a big part of it too is it's like you're just seeped. You're just like, I don't know, the main character is just so fucked up on drugs all the time that like in that aspect you're like, are they just, you know, losing it? Because what's happening to the main character is also unreliable, and it's hard to know, like, is this going to go in a direction that is like, you know, the Truman Show, or that is like more, is there more to it, or is this going to be more of like a psychoanalysis of like the use of drugs or whatever? But obviously like this is from like a queer black like radical author, so I figured that there would be more to it. And I think that that's not like a spoiler going into it, but I really do appreciate the way that this was just so psychological, and how it like using your dreams was almost a requirement. And God, I don't know, there's a lot about this. Okay, just look at the cover. You need to read it. You gotta read it. Go buy it. Go rent it from your library. Go. This is your call. This is your call to action. My God. Ugh. Okay. What else? I want to talk about the other books that I read recently. So the other day I finished Little Fish. I really liked Little Fish. It wasn't like a 5-star experience for me, but it was really good. But it was very reminiscent, like I said, of some of those other books that I've read that are by okay, so I made the comment in one of my videos that it reminded me of Small Beauty and the House of Impossible Beauties, and Detransition Baby, and like Time is the Thing a Body Moves Through. And Bianca mentioned so intelligently that like all of those white trans women all hang out with each other. Like all of those authors hang out with each other, and I think that that's really funny. But there were a lot of parallels, and I could tell that like they had like communal shared experiences with each other. So there's that. I appreciated the fact that it came from a more like religious, like fundy perspective, more than just like being kind of like cutting off ties with your family and like living in New York and, you know, doing the whole kind of stereotypical thing for queer people and trans people to do. Honestly, one of my favorite characters in this, who I really like the trope in books that's like an like unreliable ally sometimes, like, or just like complicated relationships with people who are trying to be allies, but it's more realistic, because I think a lot of times, especially in like YA, you either get a character who's like super transphobic, or you get someone who's just like a fierce ally. And I like the dad character in Little Fish because he was like so sweet and so supportive of his daughter, but at the same time, you know, would like say dumb dad shit and like make comments that were just like, you know, not necessary and a little bit transphobic. And there was even like the, you know, internal dialogue of Wendy where she was like, I know that like he doesn't mean anything bad by this, and this is like he's gonna feel bad about even saying that when he's not drunk. I liked Little Fish, and I think that you would probably like it too. It's pretty sad in a lot of ways. It's very, you know, faces the reality of being a trans woman, especially in like a religious, coming from a religious background, a fundamental religious background. Like, it's good and heavy and necessary. So yeah, you should read Little Fish, but first you should read Sky Papers, okay? And then thirdly, let me see if I can get you down without knocking over my camera. Okay, nice. I also started Bewilderment. I'm about halfway through the audiobook, and I'm kind of concerned about this guy. So, as you know, I don't read a lot of cishet white guys in general, and this is for the Climate Fiction Book Club. This is obviously a more mainstream book. It's also written by the author who wrote the Overstory, which I haven't read, but a lot of people claim is like really good sci-fi. So I understand why we're reading this, and I understand like the desire to kind of like know what is being published in a more traditional sense that has these themes. But what's weird for me about this book is the focus on his son and the fact that his son has autism, and the almost like this mindset of the main character, who's a scientist, or like a science, I guess he's a scientist, but also like a professor, who's like just denying the possibility of, I don't know, any kind of like medication or anything for his kid. And I know that like autism is a very hard thing to navigate for parents, but also, you know, the kids themselves, especially being put through different like trials of different medications and different like behavioral, honestly, like experiments. Like, it's for the most part very fucked up and does not give a lot of agency to people with autism. Like, that's, you know, we live in an extremely ableist, like neurotypical centric society, and so it's interesting to like read about this being this almost like the center of this book. So he's doing this what's it called when it's like a study or like a test, but it's not like fully fledged out yet. When someone has like an illness and they try like different drugs that haven't been tested, like kind of doing that with his son and getting really frustrated at like his son's school administration because they just want to like put him on drugs, and he's like, no one can diagnose my kid more than me or something like that. So he's very, I don't know, it's weird because like on one hand I understand like that there is often a constant push, especially within schools, to over medicate kids who are in any way not seen as neurotypical. But this also almost has themes of like being kind of anti medication and like anti Western science, and I also get that, like I also get that, but also like, you know, at what point is that not having like the best impact for his son? It's weird, okay? It's a weird thing to write about, especially if you are not an autistic person. I don't know if he is. It doesn't say that he is. He's just this old white guy who lives in the Smoky Mountains. So I don't know. I feel like authors always do this. He's written 13 novels. I feel like they always get to this point where they start writing about a kid with autism, and I just want it to stop. Like, if you don't have the lived experience, or you don't have like someone to actually, you know, help you write that, but also like get credit for helping you write that, then maybe think about a different plot point. That's kind of the update. Bewilderment is my audiobook currently, so I do need to pick my next physical book. I think that I do want another here we go. Also, like, I'm also gonna finish as an audiobook once I'm done with Bewilderment. Shoot, you know what I really want to read? It's not on my TBR. I'm going to be reading the Margaret Killjoy book that I just got with Andrea and Sarah once they get it. But I think that I kind of want to read Grievers. Oh, but you know what else? I just saw a tweet today that was like really hyping up Future Feeling. Shit. I've had this one longer. Shit. I think I want to read Future Feeling. It wasn't on my TBR. I mean, it's on my TBR, but it wasn't on the one that I fucking made for December. But we all knew that that was probably gonna go out the window anyway, didn't we? Raise your hand if you knew I was not gonna stick to my TBR this month. Let's just look at what I'm actually gonna keep, okay? We're almost halfway through the month. Are we halfway through the month? What fucking day is it? It's the 10th. So let's just look at what we're gonna keep. I do want to read Crypt Theory, and I want to keep my library books on here. I'm going to read The Three Body Problem because I have it as an audiobook. I don't know. I have a number of nonfiction here, and I think I want to read Small Animals. And then I'll save Ghost Walker, and I'll save From a Native Daughter for a little bit later. I really want to get to Gut Symmetries, I think. I want to read Comfort Me with Apples. I could honestly probably read this like tonight if I wanted to. Actually, I should read this soon because when Iris comes over, I think we're going to do an arc swap, and this is an arc that they might like. I don't know. I'll keep it. This is my other library book. I want to read The Dispossessed, and I know that I can get this as an audiobook, so this might be my next audiobook after The Three-Body Problem. But also, The Galaxy and The Ground Within is also an audiobook possibility. So we'll keep that one, and then I want to read this one. I really want to read that one. So I think I'll put The Night Watchman away for now, especially because I just listened to Future Home of the Living God, which was very good, and I am excited to read more Louise Erdrich, but might take a little break. So, okay. These, for now, are going back on the TBR cart. There she is. All right. And this is what I'm gonna read next. Again, that was like a long thing at the end. But I appreciate you watching another vlog. I'm gonna go edit this now, and I guess I'll see you tomorrow.